come on and wade in the water, children, wade.
Today we're going to start a swimming pond project. We're going to start pulling out some stumps here. We're going to get it all cleaned up, and then we're going to show you how we get going excavating the pond. So as you can see, we've jackhammered out some of the rock that was here because we couldn't get the pond deep enough to swim. When we're building a swimming pond, we want to get down about 6 feet and then have a nice sand base underneath, so the final depth for the pond is about 5.5 feet. So now we're starting to backfill the pre-excavated hole. We want to over-excavate the area and get out any sharp rocks and stuff that are going to damage the liner, and then we backfill it with compaction sand. The one variable on this job site that we can't change is the building. We're not going to be able to move it up or down. So everything that we build out here has to be in relation to the building. So in this particular case, because we want to have the water line nice and close to the main viewing area, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to cut off this bottom step and this staircase coming off the deck. And then our water line is actually going to be 3 inches below the final grade. Where this step sits now is actually going to be a patio and some patio stones leading out to a deck area, or a dock as we like to call them. So we're going to set our water line so it's 3 inches below this level right here. And then everything that we do is determined on our water line. Once you determine your water line, you can't change it. It's very important to leave it where it is. The best way to determine your water line is with a laser level, just like this. So sometimes you can get a little bit of water accumulating underneath the liner, especially during the spring runoff. So just to be safe, we put a layer of crushed stone and some geotextile over top, and then we put a pipe like this up to the surface so we can suck the water out if need be. Okay, last time we spoke, most of these rocks were out by the street. We've already brought back about 65 tons and started rocking the inside of the pond here. And now we're at the point where we're starting to gravel the pond. And as you notice, Paul and Soakley are actually doing all the blocking in between each of the rocks to hide up the geotextile on the liner to protect it and to just give it a more natural aesthetic feel to the whole pond. "52 tons of rock and gravel later, our bottom shelf is all complete. Now it's time to do the top shelf and the constructed wetland. The top shelf of the pond is where all the life happens. In this particular pond, the top shelf is anywhere from about 12 to 18 inches deep. So over in this area where we're going to have a dock. Some people like to call them decks, but we like to call them docks because they're up against water. Gives you sort of that in the city, waterfront cottage lifestyle. On this side of the dock is where our lily pocket is. We create a small depression in the shelf, and here we can put all of our lilies and make it look like they're growing right out from the bottom of a natural pond. On this particular shoreline, we have a nice steep edge with sort of a bit of a cliff face to give it a bit of drama. And in this area here, this is a nice big marginal area where we can have lots of marginal plants, things like irises and cattails. It's also where our stream transition is going to take place. And finally over here is our constructed wetland zone. And this is where we're going to put lots and lots and lots of plants that will help filter the water. Right here is where our stream comes in. What we've done is we've taken the stream liner and the pond liner and we've double seam taped and cover taped it to make sure that we have a perfect seal and there's no water leaking between the two liners. On every good stream entrance, you want to have two big framing boulders like this, just to frame the whole waterfall and stream effect, to make it look like the water's naturally carved out a section in the rock. This side of the pond we're particularly proud of, especially this 3-step staircase leading into the pond. Our customer was the type of person that likes to slowly get into a swimming pool, and so we set up a staircase for her to come down to this shelf and eventually down to the bottom. We're now into about our 4th week, in the beginning of November. But the good news is this is our final grade. We brought in about 132 yards of soil and about 28 tons of gravel. This is going to be for all of our gardens and our turf areas. And over here is going to be the base for our fire pit and our flagstone patio. So we're starting to fill up the pond here. Our friend Cal has brought in his 2 tanker trucks. We figure he's going to need a couple of loads, and we're going to bring in about 30,000 gallons of water. As we were grading the other parts of the property, we added a lot more soil in this area and built up a berm that's about 24 inches above the water line, so we can create a nice stream bed to create a nice effect so that when they're sitting out on the deck area, the patio area, and in their screen porch, and even from inside their house, to be able to see this whole stream area. This particular stream has 3 elevation drops. The first one down here is very small. It's only about 6 inches, and that's what's going to create the water speeding up and creating the rapids going into the main area of the pond. This one here is going to create a nice little falls. It'll be about 8 inches high that they'll be able to see from the house and the screen porch. And finally, way back up here, there's going to be a nice pool area with a couple of marginal plants. We're going to use this spillway to make it look like a natural spring coming out of the ground. We're going to set it in, cover it in liner, and attach the pipe that leads back to the skimmer. The water's going to pump through there, diffuse the water, and then we're going to keep this all covered and hidden so it looks like a natural spring coming out and forming about a 14-inch high waterfall that's visible for the entire area of the property. So here we are, the last day on the job. The very last step that we're doing here is called the edge treating. We've got all the sod laid down. The homeowner laid down some sod on the weekend. And now what we're doing is we're going around the pond and we're burying up all that geotextile and liner and trying to blend it in to naturalize it to make it look like a natural, real shoreline. So to edge treat the pond, what we do is we go around and we trim the excess liner. This part here is a little bit long, so we're going to trim it back to about a foot. So it's just like this. And then what we do is we go around and we dig a trench in behind, and then we roll the liner up nice and tight and bury it up, and then we use soil and river wash and chips of rock and mulch to blend it in to make the shoreline look natural. So the gravel we use for edge treating, we like to use a mix. We're going to use 1.5 inch river wash granite, and we're going to also use 2 to 5 inch granite. That mix we put in about a ratio of about 4 to 1, and then it makes a real natural looking shoreline. So here's a good example of the edge treating completed just before the mulch goes down. So the liner's all buried up here, and then we bring in our mulch, and it looks just like this when we're all done.